So last year I took a course. It's a free course available on Coursera called Magic in the Middle Ages. And I had all this wealth of ideas and inspiring facts, and I didn't know what to do with it. By the way, I'm going to link the course down below if you want to go and have a look at it. It's super enjoyable and entertaining, and you learn so much from it. So I had all these facts about medieval mages and witchcraft, and I didn't know what to do until last night. Last night I got the idea, hey, how about we create a pick-a-card reading in which I help my crew figure out their past life reincarnation story. Who were you in medieval times? What was your magical role during that period? Let's find out. Hey crew, welcome to the Spiritual Social. I'm Lexi, your local lightworker. Welcome to an off the beaten track kind of reading in which I am going to help you understand what was your magic role in medieval times. So like I mentioned in the brief introduction, I was inspired after I took a course on magic in the Middle Ages, and I really had this wealth of knowledge that I wanted to share with you guys. And finally last night I found a way to compress it and to create this reading for you. So how it works is that I will invite you right now to choose a gateway. You may choose between the gateway of wisdom, the gateway of healing, the gateway of perception, or the gateway of love. These are cards taken from the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, one of the best tarot decks that was ever created. Hands down, it is remarkable. So as you walk into a gateway of your choice, you will discover your role, and then I will equip you with further details related to your everyday life, playing that role, having that profession. So this is mostly going to be magical professions. I'm not going to talk here about you're a butcher or a blacksmith or, a serf, or you work the land of a precious duke or duchess. No, we're going to be talking specifically about occult jobs, occult occupations. And I hope to get you to do some research of your own if you feel particularly intrigued by some of the professions that you hear in this reading today. So let me bring the cards even closer to you. I know that somebody complained that the cards are too far away. This is as closest as I could bring them so that I can have all of them in the same frame. I hope that this helps so that you can choose which gateway to walk through. I will tell you more about the astrological energy of each of these cards at your chosen pile. I want to thank you kindly for your words of encouragement and support, for your contributions. I recently gained a lot of new members, so I am planning to release a brand new members spicy reading in the next few days. Thank you so much for your support, for your love, and for your compassion. You really inspire me to keep going and keep creating for you all, and this means the world to me. Now, without further ado, let's not make this too long. Let's see what gateway you decided to walk into and what magical role you had in medieval times. Hi group one, hello darlings, welcome to your pick a card reading. So this is for those of you who have chosen to walk through the gate of wisdom. Okay, we have here the image of Hermit. Virgo energy could be very strong, present in your chart. You could have the sun, the moon, the ascendant, or your north node, south node in Virgo. This makes you a natural born scholar, a very hardworking individual, and you love collecting facts and you love knowing a lot of things, whether they are about reality or the occult. So, walking through the wisdom gate is giving you the following role in medieval times. You were part of the so-called tempestari, and these were individuals that were basically in charge of summoning weather phenomena. Not only that, but they got to interpret them. So for example, if there was a period of calm, they could muster up storms, or they could quiet down storms so that the crops would not be affected. In addition to this, they would read patterns in the clouds, they would predict rain, or they could actually even tell something that is about to come. They could make predictions based on the structure and power of lightning and thunder. So weather changing men, I guess nowadays you would work for a news channel and actually read the weather news or you would work in maybe situations where you find it exciting to chase storms. I know that some people do this in America. They chase tornadoes, which is incredibly dangerous. I feel that on some level, weather can be expanded to other areas of your life. For example, the weather is about your relationship to your environment. So you're an individual that really cares about the environment. You could be involved in ecological pursuits at the moment, and you could be trying to lessen people's lives from the carbon footprint that we are creating at the moment on Earth. So you're being drawn to all of these situations. You may enjoy working outdoors. You may really love it when the weather changes. You may really find a sense of beautiful melancholy when it's stormy and windy outside. This is all because of the fact that your soul remembers the job that you used to have in medieval times. So, my beautiful Tempestari, let's see what the other cards that I have here for you show me about how your daily life in medieval times was like. So we have here, okay, the 9 of Swords. We also have the 10 of Cups. Okay, the 5 of Swords. Wow, you were incredibly communicative. You're like a chatterbox. Yes, exactly, the scribe. Yes, you were also highly educated for medieval times. You could read and write. We also have here molasses. And what is written underneath is, to move forward, you must know where you are headed. God, I got goosebumps as I was saying this. You were friends with bread makers. I feel like bakers, bread makers were your best friends. And I think that they were in some way your clients, because obviously their crops were affected by the weather. And if you were the person, if you were the authority that could interpret weather phenomena, and not only that, but also produce them and summon them, obviously that people that had their livelihood dependent on crops would come to you for advice, would pay you handsomely to do something about not losing their crops, right? We also have here lemonade. Make the most of your situation by opening your mind to new possibilities. Yes, my friends, you are opportunists. You saw something, a possibility, an entryway towards something that could produce you wealth, and you grabbed it. You were people that lived in the present very strongly, which can be a little bit of a contradiction, because you could also see into the future. You could predict and foretell. But you weren't doing it with the help of tarot. You weren't doing it for the sake of romance or making people wealthy. You were doing it related to, as I said, the environment, weather phenomena, things that had to do with how will the health of our village be affected? Will we be engaged in a war? Are troops coming? I can tell by the change of the wind that we are in for some sort of pestilence coming in. Maybe there is a row of flies, or there are some, I don't know, carnivorous ants that are going to affect our food reserves. So it's kind of like you were able to predict and pick up on these kind of things that had to do with the fraught connection between man and nature. We also have here aromatherapy, and the keywords are, there's a fragrance bellowing with the essence of nourishment that is asking for a deeper seeking into yourself. So you may have been a really gifted essential oil creator as well. And I think it's because you knew exactly what types of plants to pick, what things were poisonous and what things were nourishing. I think you were also very good in the craft of distilling. Why did I pronounce it so weirdly? Like not an alcoholic distillery, but like distilling essences from plants. So I think that because I'm reading here for a large collective, there are a number of other professions that are branching out. Some of you were indeed in charge of predicting the weather or summoning storms, chasing them, interpreting them. But others of you were also, to a larger extent, you had more settled jobs, like you were a distiller. You could decant things. You knew exactly how to create a machine that would actually help you extract the essence of flowers. Some of you could also have been artisanal perfume makers as well, yeah? especially since back in the days people used to live in the same household with their cattle, with, you know, because their cattle and their farm animals were their livelihood, and during winter time they would take them into their home and sleep with them to protect them from all sorts of like attacks from wolves or bears or other people who were hungry and needed like a sheep or a cow or other things, like, you know, they didn't want their horse to be stolen, for example. So you can imagine the smell of living in the same like space in a crowded environment with animals and your family members, and you were giving people the gift of good essence, of good fragrance. Okay, the astrological inference. I was just thinking about Libra when, oh my god, I was just thinking about Libra when I said good essence, good perfume. Yeah, Libra energy, I balance. So you were very good at leveling the ground for people. I'm also getting this energy of you, you could read in the ashes that were created in the ground by lightning strikes. Like, for example, there were occasions when lightning would strike a tree and burn it completely and turn it into ash. And you used to have like a specific stick that you have designed, imbued with essential oils and crystals, and you would draw in the ground patterns and shapes and create sigils and be able to interpret signs and symbols. Libra energy also told me that you were very good at building partnerships. You were very good at finding what you can exchange for what you could get. So for example, when a person came to you, they needed help, you would always keep in mind, okay, but I also need something in return. Or when you went to pay your debt to somebody, you kept in mind what you owed them, what it was owed to them. So you were very balanced, you were very aware of give and takes. Yeah? I also think that a lot of you were engaged in a partnership with an individual that was teaching you a lot about how to cook, how to extract essences from fruits, vegetables, and flowers. You were incredibly, as I mentioned before, with the scribe here and with Libra energy. You also have two cards here that are connected to the world of mind, speaking. You were also good at creating illusions for certain people. I feel that during periods when, for example, it was a big drought and there was no rain, you couldn't summon the storms, you were really struggling to make ends meet, you would from time to time predict illusory things, like you would be a little bit tricky just to be able to gain an income. You would bend the truth from time to time. We have here the Five of Swords, yeah? And this is only because you were afraid that you would be suffering from hunger or die from hunger because you couldn't make an income during periods when the sky was very not very humid, very dry, and there was a drought, right? There was no rain, and it's kind of like the summers were very hot, but there was no precipitation, and you literally did not have anything to do. So I think that from time to time you would also be very good at writing letters to supplement your income. You'll be able to read things for people and write things for them. I think that you were using parchment. You were also using, I'm getting pigskin. For some reason I'm getting that you would draw or write on pigskin with ink. I also feel that you were an individual that was frequently summoned to say poems, like you were very good at memorizing poems. And you would make people very happy with these poems. It's like people would gather around you, almost like how people gathered around the bonfire during celebratory nights to hear you speak. Just to hear you speak from everything you knew. And I think that it's because of your upbringing. I feel like you had some sort of interaction with the monastery and you gathered knowledge from the monks, knowledge related to how to maintain books, how to write letters, how to read things. And that's how you kind of amped up your skills and you were able to survive even during periods when you weren't able to summon up a storm or you weren't able to interpret them because there just weren't any. You know, nature sometimes has these moments when it's incredibly sunny or it's incredibly dry for years, for years on end. So I feel that your life in general was not a really bad life. I feel that because you had so many skills, you were able to adapt quickly. molasses and lemonade and aromatherapy kind of makes me feel that you are very lovable. And also with Libra energy here, I think that you easily got married and stayed married, and you had a very fortunate marriage. I mean, your partner was helping you gain new skills, and it was teaching you how to cook, how to extract the essence of plants and flowers and create essential oils and perfumes and all sorts of like refreshing drinks. And you would sell these during periods when you were not able to read the weather or interpret storms. I feel very strongly that you were some people would say, and they would unfairly label you as a jack of all trades, but you were indeed an individual that was very shrewd and cunning, and you were able to adapt quickly to changing life circumstances. And the beautiful thing is that you carry this energy into your present reality. So at the moment, you could be drawn towards perfume creation, essential oil extraction. You could work for a news weather channel or something of that nature. You could be involved in environmental or ecological pursuits. The changing environment, changing weather really, really bothers you. It's something that keeps you up at night. You are very connected to the environment. So when the weather changes, you could develop in your body certain symptoms, like you could have rheumatism, right? Or you could just feel uncomfortable right before a sudden event is happening, such as an earthquake or a landslide or a tsunami. You feel these things in your bones, and it's mostly because you developed this energy from this past medieval lifetime in which you were actually earning your bread, your income, through interpreting and summoning storms. Yeah, I feel very strongly that you are influenced and you have a certain degree of karma from air signs energy in astrology. So this means Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius energy is bringing a certain degree of karma to you in this incarnation. You might have been born with Saturn in Gemini, Saturn in Libra, or Saturn in Aquarius, which means that you have some sort of karma to pay back from being a little bit, cunning in a past lifetime and having bent from time to time the truth. You told people some white lies that helped you gain an income for yourself, but also these have produced some negative karma. And at the moment, you may be tested in your personal connections related to aspects about honesty, truth-telling, showing up with integrity in terms of the facts you are transmitting, gathering news and being able to objectively portray a situation rather than to get caught up in a storm of emotions, a subjective way of relating to reality. You could be drawn towards politics, towards power, but from a very cool and detached perspective. You may analyze big data at the moment and try to find the pattern breaker inside of them, much like you were analyzing clouds and studying lightning and thunder in the past. I feel the need to end your reading here. I hope you found this exciting. It's something quite new that I thought of creating for you guys. I really have enjoyed creating this reading for you. Let me know down in the comments how you found it. And yeah, I'll make sure to come up with zany ideas like this one as spirit kind of pulls me into this. So thank you kindly for being here, and I cannot wait to see my next one. Ciao. Hi Group 2, hello darlings, welcome to a pick-a-card reading in which I'm going to help you understand what was your magic role in medieval times. I feel the need to drink some coffee. I feel like your energy is tired, battle-worn and heavy, almost as if it's like, oh, I had enough. I don't know if I'm waking up to this reality anymore. My heart goes out to you. You are also drawn towards the healing gateway. And I'm here to let you know that if you want to walk through the healing gateway, which is this beautiful Piscean, Neptunian vibe, this tells me that you may be a water sign, or water sign energy could be very important in your chart. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, you may have it as your sun, moon, or as your ascendant, your north node or your south node. There could be some strong Mercury-Neptune links. You may have Mercury conjunct Neptune, or Neptune in opposition to your Mercury, in a trine, sextile, or in a difficult square, which makes the process of healing a really important aspect of your current incarnation. So if you have chosen to walk through the healing gate, I am here to let you know that the medieval role you supplied in basically medieval times. For a second I was like, I'm just repeating myself. The magic role you supplied in medieval times. Oh my god, I feel how tired you are and how much your brain needs some rest and some rewiring. So let me take a sip of the coffee while I allow you to look at Mother Shipton. Mother Shipton was considered to be a bit of a witch. So I guess that you know the role that you supplied. You were part of the family called sortilegi. You were a mago or a strega. You were a magician, a warlock, a witch. Basically a soothsayer, a fortune teller, somebody that could divine, predict things that would happen. Mother Shipton was really important to English medieval magic because apparently she actually predicted the Great Fire of London, and she also predicted the basically the winning outcome and the defeat of the Spanish Armada. So these were two rather strong, powerful historical events that influenced the history of England. So I feel that she was revered back in the days. I think that even nowadays you can go and visit her cave. Unfortunately, I was not aware of her story when I was living in the UK, so I missed the opportunity to go and visit her cave, but maybe you still could do that, okay? And the fact that there was this bothersome police alarm outside. I do live in Bucharest. All apartments in Bucharest are affected by sound pollution, unfortunately. But the fact that I heard that police alarm is kind of like bringing this home to you. This alarming knowledge that if you feel like the world is against you, if you feel tired and battle worn, if you feel heavy and kind of like you have to constantly fight for your role to be included into society, this is because of the fact that you are sortilegi. You are part of this family of divinators and occult practitioners that tend to be seen as outcasts. They tend to be stigmatized, and they tend to be the mirrors of the wrath of society and the containers of the shadow of the collective during trying periods of time, like the one that we're going through. Let's take a sip of coffee together from my haunted ghost cup. And now let's dive straight into more details related to how your life might have been in medieval times. Okay, so, no, that wasn't your pile. You could struggle at the moment. There could be a confusion of roles. For example, you may not know who you are at the moment, or who you're trying to be, who you are struggling to become. We have here emotions. So you could have a very passionate core. Maybe you have a moon in a fire sign. There is here a very passionate destiny. You fight for what you believe in, and you know exactly what you have to do. It's just creating the conditions to be able to live the life that you want to live and to somehow exist in the world without constantly being threatened or having to fight for your place in society. We also have here the Six of Swords. So constantly struggling to bring light into the dark, constantly trying to create from negative emotions something positive, constantly trying to illuminate people and help them understand themselves and get themselves out of ignorance and hatred. We also have here destiny. Okay, so you have a really powerful path. You felt it in your bones from the moment you were born. We have here the crone. And it may have been that some of you were connected to Stonehenge in past medieval times. Yeah, you may have conducted rituals around that really strong spiritual epicenter. The crone here tells me that the older you will grow into your powers, and that the more interferences and problems you stumble upon, the more of an expert and master will you become, because you're getting better at understanding how to take all the hatred that society is sending your way and transform it into love, transmute it. You are a wonderful transmuter of energy. And you're very good at also fighting with the forces of the dark. We have here tea magic, and the description is Reach into your subconscious, pull from the source, and weave magic with intention, and the answers will unfold. Okay, so it's really benefic for you to drink herbal teas, and not only that, but to set clear intentions every time when you ingest warm beverages, warm liquids. You can really create spells and activate them with the power of a warm beverage. We have here a bike ride. Just to give you an example, because some of you could be a bit confused, like for example, you know how when you are low on your sensual energy and you're trying to reactivate it, you can make yourself some hot cocoa with chili and ginger bits inside of it. And because those herbs and, well, roots are incredibly fiery, they tend to activate the fire in your belly. They are spicy, so they kind of activate the spicy energy in your root chakra and in your intimacy center, in your sacral chakra. So that's how you could, for example, through a beverage, create the spell to reactivate this powerful sexual energy in your body. We also have here bike rides. It is the stillness and presence of the journey that you will find yourself exactly where you need to be. So your life is at the moment kind of like weaving this beautiful spell, almost like threading itself like a spider web, in which you are going to have to understand moments of stillness and how they help you to create moments of exploration, and how after a period of exploration you can come back to the hearth, to the home, to your witchy dwelling place, and find stillness again. And in the stillness you meditate, you find inspiration, you find protection, and then you gather the strength to go out and explore again. So this is why we have tea magic and bike ride. Usually teas are something that you prepare either at home or in the home of somebody else. You need a kitchen, you need some materials at hand. You definitely need a place that heats up water or a machine that heats up water. And then the bike ride is like getting outdoors, facing life, exploring, discovering new things, but not in such a fast and destructive way as you could do it with a car, but more like in a way that requires your constant muscle movement, your constant desire to move ahead. Because when you're riding a bike, you have to put your muscles into motion. Your brain needs to be in a much more alert state than when you are riding in a vehicle. This is because you have less protection. Your head is outdoors. You don't know exactly the terrain that you're going to encounter. You have to pay attention left and right and in all directions. You have to do this as well with a car, but in a car you're much more protected because you have a hood, you're covered, there are all sorts of automatic things that you can do to help reach your destination. In a bike, you basically, in a bike ride, you basically take from it whatever you put into it. And that's exactly the movement and the story of your life. From the seat of self-knowledge, self-awareness, you know who you are and you know what you want to achieve. You go out into the world and you put effort into your relationships with other people, into understanding and changing and shaping your environment. And that's what makes you this incredibly strong and powerful crone-like image, crone figures. You help manipulate people's emotions by helping understand your own and controlling your emotions as well. You leave a lasting, powerful impact. There could be something about the way you look, like maybe you're very tall, maybe there is something incredibly heavy, like when you walk into the room, everything shifts around you, like you bring a sense of heavy presence. People immediately respect you or fear you or are intimidated by you because they feel how strong you are, led from behind by so many unseen forces that you are in a daily dialogue with, through prayers, through tapping into the world beyond the veil, through incantations and summoning practices. But many people don't understand that you don't communicate with the dark in order to be overwhelmed by it or to use it against them. You communicate with the dark because the dark helps you understand how to bring more light into the world. You are aware of these contrasts. And very beautifully here, I have another card for you, we have the Peach Moonstone. Oh, I love these cards so much, from the Seasons of the Witch Oracle. There is reason in the flow of what is and what needs to be. So again, using crystals to divinate alongside with tarot, being aware of the transit of planets, watching the night sky and studying the astronomical basically occurrences. I feel like in medieval times, when there was a comet, or when there was a shower of stars, right, when there was an asteroids event, you would not be afraid at all. Like, people in the villages, in the place where you would live, they would be completely shocked. They would be scared. When there was an eclipse every time and they were able to see it, they would be feeling like it's the end of the world, like God is upset with them. But you were just drawing power and energy from this. And I feel that most of you were some of the most intelligent people in the area in which you lived back in medieval times. And you had this natural sense of confidence that would defeat fear and collective worry and anger. This gave you a sense of confidence that was supernatural. Like, people were shocked and amazed, like, why are you not afraid of the things that we normally are afraid of? Many people accused you of actually, cavorting with the devil, because they attributed in the past a lot of power to the devil, because people at the same time were not aware of the power that they themselves had. So they projected this negative power that they would not own onto you and onto people of the same branch as you, the sortilegi, the magicians, the stregas, the magos. So we have here, as well as astrological influence, the second house, owning, yeah. This is a pretty karmic house. It talks about material possessions, money, food, but it also talks about the body, how we exist embodied in this incarnation. The second house is naturally ruled by the sign Taurus, and Taurus, in the evolution of the soul and the lifespan of a human being, represents the stage of being a toddler. After the soul incarnated and was born, which is Aries energy, we have the very strong and stubborn energy of I am alive, I am in my body, I am enjoying sensations, and I'm figuring out who I am through my senses. And I feel that you work people on this sensual level. You are able to titillate them, to change their visual perceptions, to change the way they relate to their reality by messing with their auditory perception as well, with their sound, right, with their hearing. Not only that, but taste and touch and smell are also ways through which we understand reality and we relate to reality, but ways that can sometimes be manipulated through the power of your work, through the spell work, through the summoning, through the incantations. I also feel that some of you, and this is something because the Peach Moonstone talks about fertility, some of you also had a more pragmatic occupation, and this was about traveling to and fro houses where women were giving birth and helping them. So you were a medieval doula. You were basically the unqualified nurses of medieval times. You were helping children be born into this world, and oftentimes I feel like you were being in some way stigmatized for that, yeah, because many times you were also helping women maybe get rid of children, and obviously this was seen as a sin by the church, by the Inquisition, and it was really damned. So there was a lot of secrecy related to practices of childbirth, but also kind of like stopping the flow of life in the womb. Because as you guys know, many times there were sexual assaults and rapes and all sorts of things that happened, and basically the witch community was the one that was providing this type of care to women back in the days, especially considering the wars and the conflicts and the occupations that used to happen, so those were quite common back in the days. So coming back to your powerful destiny, I feel that you bring this energy into this reality. And if you have here the second house, well, it tells me that in your current incarnation, you could be having some very strong karma related to this profession that you had in the past. You earned your money by being a witch, so there could be some problems in your current reality related to how you work and how you earn an income for yourself independently. You may have been born with Saturn in the 2nd house, Saturn in the 6th house, or the 10th house. This means that you owe a debt. Something needs to be paid back here through the hard work you are willing to put into your current incarnation in this lifetime to earn your income. You need to stand in your integrity at work and choose work that fulfills you. Do not work for other people just to get a small paycheck and kind of hate your life by going through a really boring 9 to 5. Create work that is meaningful to you. And even though you may go through periods of time when you will have less and other periods of time when you will create a lot of abundance and have a lot, enjoy the ups and downs. Yeah, enjoy the ups and downs and do not give up on the profession that you feel in your heart, that you are completely convinced and confident about that you need to be doing. Do not cut corners. Do not allow other people to pay for your dues, but pay them slowly in time, devise plans, and show up for work with a powerful presence. If people put you to the corner, if they belittle you or they bully you at work, simply leave that environment and begin again in a new place. You are meant to withstand and persevere with a lot of determination in whatever occupation you have chosen for yourself in this reality. The best way to go about resolving this karma is to become your own boss, to become self-employed, to have your own way of managing and organizing your daily routines, to set your own prices because you know your worth, and you know the type of preparation that goes into the creation of everything that you need to use to help another person, to serve another person. And I feel that if you take this into your own hands, if you take control of your destiny, if you are aware of who you are, and you let go of toxic shame, because you guys have a lot of toxic shame related to this past life of being a witch, a warlock, yeah? And of course, dealing with issues with fertility and childbirth that could have been controversial and still are controversial. Because you bring this past karma and you need to find a way to heal that, heal yourself from shame, and you will see how you will heal yourself from any wound or any blockage related to you living a life that is commensurate to your worth. Because you could be an incredibly talented and gifted occult practitioner who struggles financially and you don't understand why. It's because of this past life karma. You have to let go of toxic shame associated to your role as a fortune teller, as a soothsayer, as a witch. And as soon as you let go of that, as soon as you accept yourself, as soon as you basically enjoy the ride and heal your heart, and you can do it in very practical ways, yeah, through praying, ingesting warm beverages, creating a safe environment in which you dwell, manifesting peace, transforming dark emotions into positive ones. Then you'll see how abundance is just going to roll in, and you won't even be preoccupied with it because you'll be so focused on sharing of yourself and sharing of your talents because you love yourself rather than be ashamed of who you are. And money will just keep coming in. Money will go, money will come in. This is the flow of life and you shouldn't intervene too strongly with it. Just be aware of who you are. Be aware of what you give to the collective. Your destiny is a deeply healing one because you have chosen to walk through this healing gate. And I'm going to end the reading here. Wow, it's quite long. I hope this helped. I hope this inspired you. And I hope you took something interesting from it. It's the first time I'm doing a reading like this. So please comment down below and let me know how you found it. And yeah, I cannot wait to see you in my next one. Take care. Hi Group 3, welcome to your Pick a Card reading. This is a little bit of an off the beaten track kind of reading. I am curious to find out what magical role you had in medieval times. So this is a reading for those of you who are walking through the gates of perception. As you can see, there's a very intimidating guardian of the threshold awaiting you at the gate. There's this dark angel. And this fits very well with the type of occupation you had in medieval times. You were a really brave person because you worked as a necromancer. So your profession was basically the care of dead bodies, taking care of communicating with the spirits of the dead. You were a person who would summon both angels and also demons. You were an occult practitioner, most likely of gray and dark magic. Your occupation had to deal with getting in contact with Hades and dealing with the underworld. You were a person that was feared in your community, but you were the first person that people turned to during times when there were a lot of victims because of wars, because of plague and pestilence. You were an individual that would also be in charge of sin eaters. These were people that were on the outskirts of society. They were very poor, and they would sometimes be paid alms or be paid through food by helping eat the sins of the person that has died. It was a symbolical eating. Obviously, they wouldn't eat on corpses, but it was eating the funeral cakes, for example, that were strewn on the body of the deceased. And through the symbolic act of eating those funeral cakes, they were also taking away the karma and the burden and the responsibilities of the dead person. You were not acting as one of these sin eaters, you were managing them. I feel like you were a person that was revered by priests, by local police people, or whoever was the guard of the village, of the town in which you were living. You dwelled a lot in nefarious places, such as crypts and graveyards, and you basically had to deal with the more sordid aspects of reality, right? The refuse, what was dead, what was discarded, what was sent to the side. You were also dealing with people that were comatose, people that were on the brink between life and death, but kind of stuck in this really uncomfortable limbo. And you took care of all of that. I feel like you were summoned during funeral rites and rituals. I feel like you were especially sought after around the times of Halloween and autumn and winter time. In any kind of transitions from life to death, you would be summoned. A lot of people would come to you to try to help so that you can help them understand rebirth and any practices that had some sort of remembrance of the loved one. Like you would also help people prepare lockets to remember the dead made out of the hair or the teeth or any other body part that a loved one wanted to keep from the body of the deceased. Yeah, so pretty tough occupation, a pretty dark one. I'm not surprised that you were drawn towards this energy. You could have very strong Capricorn or Scorpio placements in your chart. Pluto or Saturn could be very prominent in your chart, even if you're not a Capricorn or a Scorpio. So let's see the details of how your daily life used to play out in medieval times. So we have here thought. We also have here with Eight of Cups, because we have the dolphins. We also have here the Four of Cups, the fish, and we also have here the Ace of Swords. I have to tell you that you didn't live such a happy life, obviously, due to the work that you were dealing. You were constantly absorbing the negative energies around you, and you were kind of also dwelling in them. Unlike group 2, the witches and warlocks, you were actually delving completely into this world of negativity and finding power and meaning inside of it. I feel that you were also somehow feeding off of this energy in some way, and you held a mirror to society and to society's sins and problems and faults. Like whenever a person would die, there was a lot of competitiveness between family members, or a lot of enmity would come out. People would fight over what the dead person was leaving behind, issues of inheritance and land property, and all sorts of things of that nature used to come up. People would be haunted by the ghost of the dead one. They would have nightmares, and they would come to you for help and healing. I also see here that you were quite a popular individual in the region where you were initially when you entered into a town, but after people kind of saw what you were doing and you spent some time in a specific village or an area, you had to walk away. Even though you didn't like it, you had to, from time to time, ritualistically take your tent basically and place it someplace else, because people would start to behave in very weird ways with you, and it was mostly because of the fact that they believed you controlled the devil or you controlled demons, and they would start projecting negative emotions onto you. So you were also a bit of a nomad. You wouldn't settle into one place. You had to, unfortunately, detach from any area in which you found yourself settled into. So there was a lot of change and chaos in your personal life, and many times you wanted to be by yourself. You lived the life of a very thoughtful, secluded individual, preferring to spend time by yourself rather than surrounded by other people. I also see here a beautiful light worker. So we have here the saying, the transmutation of shadow is needed when seeking the light that guides you. We also have here elderberries, and the underlining word is, there it is, a knowing within bone, allow it to guide you. And we have here Grandmaster number 33 and the Robin. And the keywords are, spring into the presence of stillness, for there is much to rejoice in there. There are a lot of messages today in this reading related to stillness and calming energies and becoming centered and not allowing external events to take you out of yourself. So Robin, elderberries, and lightworker. Of course, it's fascinating because elderberries are dark berries. Again, there's this theme of darkness that somehow you are meant in this current incarnation to transform into light. You may have been born in this reality, in this present lifetime, with a tough square between Saturn and Pluto. For example, your Sun is square Pluto, Sun square Saturn. There is karma here to be paid back, especially on the paternal line. I also feel that you learned how to become a necromancer from a father figure, from a brother, from a sort of disowned priest that turned to the dark side and taught you the practice and profession of dealing with dead bodies and summoning the spirits of the dead and creating ritualistic pentagrams on the floorboards of houses in order to step into and protect yourself from the forces of evil. So you are a very good communicator, both intuitively and mentally, but you like to keep a lot of things to yourself. You're an introvert par excellence. And I also see here that with the Robin, I see it as a messenger, as an emissary between worlds. It is a very small, sweet bird. It looks quite frail and vulnerable, but it is incredibly fast and can transmit information very fast from one place to the other. You may have a strong Mercury-Pluto link in your natal chart, which kind of makes me think that you gather information that you could use as a whistleblower, or you have a lot of information that you can put to good use to manipulate certain powerful people, but you have to be very careful about walking this fine line between darkness and light all of the time. Life will tempt you to act in your lower integrity. Life will tempt you to be low vibrational, but you have to hold a candle for yourself and to the work that you are doing in the past and communicate what is healing, communicate what is correct, what is honest, what is good, because your karma in this reality is to turn towards the light. You could be a sun sign in Leo, or you may have a moon in Leo, a midheaven in Leo, a north node in Leo, maybe one of your children or best friends is a Leo, a guide, a teacher, like a grandmother, your own mother potentially. And this individual is incredibly important for you because this person is meant to help you get rid of all this darkness that you have acquired through the occupation that you had in medieval times. It fell under the table, yeah? So this dark occupation that you had in medieval times, and it is meant to help you transform it, to help rise above the muck, rise above the negativity, right? Transcend the limits, transcend the poverty, the abuses, the sheer amount of bodily filth you had to see and witness in the past lifetime, yeah? In this reality, you could be drawn towards professions such as becoming a plastic surgeon or a mortician. You could be drawn towards true crime. Crime thrillers in general fascinate you. You could be writing them, consuming them by reading them, or by looking at television shows based on these kind of things. You could be fascinated by solving riddles and mysteries. You're incredibly intelligent. You could also be a really good psychologist in this incarnation, and thereby you're helping people change bad behaviors into more positive ones. So a very strong indication here that you need to develop your capacity to relate to other people by using your inherent introvert skills and communicating to people some uncomfortable truths. I also have here the astrological energy of the third house, and this is the house of messages. It is the house ruled by the god Thoth in Egyptian lore. It is the god also ruled in Western astrology by Mercury or Hermes, the god of messages, communication. Mercury could be a bit of a trickster. He has that low-key kind of energy. Like one minute he's by your side, the next minute he's betraying you. It rules over the dual sign of Gemini. You guys know how Geminis can be, right? Quite fickle. One moment they say one thing, the next moment they change their mind. So there is this fascinating balance that you need to strike in this current incarnation between the information that you gather that can be used for evil, and how can you use it to actually empower people. You could find out some really important secrets, and some powerful people could hunt you down in this reality because of the fact that you know so much. So be very mindful whom you talk to about what you know, and choose to release information only when a work is completed in a certain way. So only after you have finished writing a book, or only after you have prepared a report, or only in the moment when you go on news and tell something that is really important. Do not tell people beforehand of your plans, because you run the risk of really being tracked and hunted down by powerful people that will just obliterate your history and existence. And this is because of this necromancer energy that you had from a past lifetime. You could be very good at noticing all sorts of weird signs and symbols, and you could also be very much attuned to the world beyond the veil. You could be very sensitive to slight changes in temperature, portraits around the house. You could feel like the dead are constantly trying to communicate to you. You could feel a certain energy as you walk into a graveyard or in a museum, in places where history was written. And I feel that you are an individual that has great potential to transform all of that for the good, for the greater good, as they say. So you could become a teacher, you could become an academic teacher, you could be a public speaker, you could actually lead an organization that is in some way defending artifacts of the past, or preserving the memory of dead ones, or contributing to the commemoration of victims that were massacred at a certain point in time. You could be working with really tough subjects, uncomfortable situations. You could be gathering data on victims of genocide, or doing as much work as you can to prevent genocides from happening. So death and dying are big themes in your life, but the end goal of these themes is not to be haunted ad infinitum, until you get nauseated by these themes and to hurt yourself physically, but it is about finding light, finding a point of rebirth, a point where you can take all that muck and use it as fuel for your regeneration, your transformation. So if awful things have happened to you, if you had to withstand and endure a lot of difficult things, if you lost a lot of loved ones before a certain age, there is this understanding that if we lose a person before our 7th year of life, we feel the pain bodily, physically, not only emotionally. While if we lose people after the age of 21, it's almost like the pain that we feel is more like psychological rather than emotional. I think I heard a guru talk about this kind of like age-related pain that gets conscribed either in the body, so pain that happens to us before a certain age, before we are able to withstand it, can show itself into our body. And doing body work, changing your body, is helping you release that pain that was plonked upon your shoulders before you were able to even become aware of what life is and death is and what's going on here on earth, right? I think it's the age of 7 or the age of 21. These are significant. Around the age of 21, 22, that's a difficult period in a person's life because we are encountering our very big first Saturn square to our sun, and a lot of tough things happen to people around that time. So I want you to be aware of this pain, and I want you to find ways to transform it, not dwell in it until you make yourself sick and other people around you, but take it and transform it into something empowering. Much like the motorcycle sounds that are disturbing your reading at the moment, I definitely feel that you have all the skills, you have the innate intelligence to not only become aware of the karma of the past, but to transform it into something filled with light, compassion, love, and kindness, okay? Even if you had a dark magic role in medieval times, your role in this reality can be one of light, knowledge, awareness, and empowering, okay? So use your skills for good. I am on your side. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening. It's a pretty weird kind of reading, so let me know down in the comments how you found it, and I really hope you'll take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in my next one. Ciao. Hi group 4, welcome to this unique pickacard reading. We are going to find out what was your magic role in medieval times. So this is for those of you that wanted to walk through the gate of love. I have good news for you. You didn't have such a heavy profession like the other ones. Your profession was a little bit more down to earth. You were actually a member of what was called I Castellanos or the Senecals, depending where in medieval Europe you found yourself. So let me explain a little bit what the Castellanos were doing. You were basically like a courtier, but a courtier that had the management of a specific castle, a specific area of a kingdom. So you were an administrator. And much like your counterpart, the Senecal or Seneschal, depending again in which region of Europe you were and how you chose to pronounce it, was like an administrator to a wealthy family, a wealthy person that had some sort of duties. They would have a personal administrator. It's kind of like the modern day equivalent of a Castellano or a Seneschal. More of a Seneschal would be a butler or like an individual that you would trade a lot of your scheduled duties to. They would take care of all of that, your meetings, paying other people in your care. But there were slight differences in the fact that the Seneschal was working with a wealthy person. So they were a direct administrator of the wealthier person, the king, the courtier, the duchess, the duke, of their businesses, while the Castellano was most likely a landowner, a proprietor, somebody that took care of a specific building, a specific enclosed area. And it's fascinating because you are drawn to the love gate. And it is believed that the modern idea of love, as we understand it, with all the courting rituals, with all the dating things, with the romantic poems, the bringing flowers and sweets and candy to court a lady, comes from that time, and it comes from the tradition of the Castellanos that from time to time would gather together to talk about their administrative work, but also to eat and drink and be merry. And during these Castellano gatherings, they would start to create songs of love. So initially, believe it or not, most of them were men, because men were allowed to have property and to manage it back in medieval times. And they were actually the creators of the first love songs and the first love poems that we tend to base a lot of our Western understanding of love upon. Okay, so keeping this in mind, I also have this image of the Seneschal or Senecal, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's taken from the Dreams of Gaia tarot, and I find it fascinating. The description, the Dreams of Gaia tarot was the first tarot deck that introduced me to this idea, to this knowledge and this role, because before that I had no idea that this kind of job even existed. You see that in this image. The Senecal has a lot of keys, so it's like a lot of keys are given and trusted to you to open a lot of doorways. You had access to a lot of property, a lot of physical goods, and you were the one who decided who got what and for what reason and for what sum and what was the worth of these places, yeah? So you were in charge with very common, mundane, administrative things: the cleaning, the maintenance, the upkeep, the division of goods, the division of money, the wages. All of these things fell under your occupation, and you developed this capacity of being a really good organizer, of being a person that has lists. You know, you wake up in the morning, even in this incarnation, in this lifetime, and you already know, okay, we have to do this and this and this and this. So all of the steps that need to be taken towards the achievement of a specific goal, and that goal is usually physical, pragmatic. Like, I work each day and I follow these steps to achieve money, so I can take the money and buy further physical, practical things like a car or a house or food, clothing, so on and so forth. So let's see right now, with the help of tarot and oracle cards, the details of your everyday life. Of course, we have the Ace of Coins. You are wealthy. You carry this wealth and abundance mindset in this incarnation. Oh, the Six of Coins talk about wealth. You were also physically healthy and sturdy, and this was mostly due to the fact that you had a really good diet. Because you were an administrator, because you handled other people's money, people would often give you gifts, or they tried to kind of like please you and suck up to you so that you would lessen their rent or increase their wages. So you were an individual that was constantly receiving gifts. I feel like at some point you didn't know what to do with them. You were constantly given good food. I'm also here meant to tell you that from time to time people try to poison you. So you had people around you that would taste your food and taste your drinks before you imbibed. We also have here emotion and intellect. And we have the Ten of Wands. You had a lot of responsibilities weighing on your shoulder. And we have the Queen of Air, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. You were a bit of a strict disciplinarian, and this is mostly because you carried so much weight. Can you imagine having such a responsibility that you were taking care of the money of a wealthy person or of their daily schedule? If you made a mistake, it was, off with your head. Because the mistake could be very big and have long-term lasting consequences. If you lost the keys to a property, or if you did not correctly distribute the wealth of a gentlewoman or a gentleman, you can imagine that the consequences would fall heavily upon your shoulders. So this is why you were a person that would not prioritize sob stories or like spiritual tales as to what happened to money, what happened to the goods. You were very fair, you were very strict, you were very disciplined. If people paid for right or access to a property, you would grant them that. If they didn't have money to pay it, you would lock it away, and that's it. You didn't care what happened to those people. What's fair is fair. So you played by the rules, and not everybody liked you because of that. Because obviously life is filled with all sorts of like exceptional things that happened, and people didn't always have money to pay their rent. So you were in charge of the nasty business of kicking people out of their homes or taking away their material goods because they couldn't meet payments. It was not all good and organized. You can imagine that there was a bit of a nastier side, and you created a bit of karma related to wealth and abundance and material physical things in this reality. You also created a bit of karma in relation to the split between your emotions and your intellect. It was kind of like a division, like one side was the emotional side and the other side was the rational, intellectual side. And it's kind of like you found it hard to reconcile them. You really enjoyed a strict division between your private life and whatever life you had outdoors in the public. And you really cared about how people saw you in the community. It was really important to be seen in a specific way, and you put a lot of effort to control this image. You may have been born in this reality with a Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus ascendant. Well, there is very strong karma related to these signs. You could have a Saturn in Virgo, a Saturn in Taurus, a Saturn in Capricorn, yeah? So very strong energies related to the split between emotions and intellect. You could really fall for that saying, I think, therefore I am. And some people may have said that you can be a little bit too detached and emotionally cold from time to time. Now, let's see the other cards. Wow, and I'm getting like a bit of a headache as I'm saying this, like on this part. You may be fraught with headaches from time to time. You could put a lot of pressure on yourself to achieve a lot. You're very ambitious. And because you go towards things with a lot of passion and ambition, from time to time, headaches may happen to slow you down a little bit. You really need to stop and smell the roses in this lifetime and to enjoy life more. So we have here St. John's wort and marigold. And St. John's wort is a herb. You can consume it as a tea or you can take it as herbal supplements. I used to take it together with my friend Christina when we were working on our PhD because it really calms you down. It puts you to sleep. It kind of mellows your energy out a little bit. And we were quite stressed because of our PhDs. So St. John's wort always helped us. And we have here, against your will, there will not be. No entrance, no welcoming, be gone. Okay? Yeah. So you have a very strong will. And I think a lot of people are hitting this wall of willpower, this force field of you will not do what I don't want you to do. Okay? I have control. You will do as I say. And this can make you a really unpopular person with a lot of enemies. So in this lifetime, you are meant to soften your energy a little bit, to find a way to talk to other people, to find compromises, to negotiate things. It's not all black and white. There are shades of gray in between. We also have here Santi, slow, intentional, delicious interweaving with life holds more magic than you think. You are being frustrated in your goals in this reality. If you feel like you want to achieve something and it's not happening as fast as you want it to, it's because you are learning how to have patience, how to slow down. You are a very good organizer. You will achieve your goals. You are meant to create abundance because you had so much of everything in a previous lifetime. So you carry this in your cellular memory. What you need to do is focus more on relationships, focus more on emotional values, develop your emotional side. You could have some very strong karma related to the sun sign Taurus and Scorpio. Maybe you have Pluto, Mars placements there. Maybe you have a sun, south node, north node contact there. You can be a Plutonic Scorpio sun, or you could be a Venusian, a Taurus sun. But I see very strong energy here related to the inheritance that you have from the side of your family that, again, had to deal with the father, brothers as well. If you have any brothers or a grandfather, that was very important. You may have been born in a family that has some sort of a really imposing person in the family. They don't need to be a celebrity, but maybe they were like the local judge or the good doctor in the community or the greatest teacher that people in the generation found themselves drawn towards. Or maybe they were a poet or a published author, a good painter. You know, somebody in your family has some sort of renown, some prestige, a certain power, a certain hold. And I see that this is on the male side because we have the sun here. Solar energy is usually associated with masculinity. So we have here eggshell pots, number 12. And the description is, connect with the essence of purpose within your intention and all will be revealed. It's important to be aware of how you use your words in this lifetime. You're not a very big talker. I feel that you say things to the point. You don't waste time with your words. And you have to understand that this makes your words even more powerful because they are such a limited currency. Yeah. When you say something, it tends to be obeyed because you carry this administrator karma from a past lifetime. You know how to command the room. You know how to have authority. You have natural authority over people. Yeah. So when you tell a person, listen to me or do as I say, it is really powerful and you can really hypnotize people into doing what you want them to do. But here's the thing. You have to transform this energy from material things towards emotional things. Gaining another person's love, approval, and acceptance is going to be much more important for you in this lifetime than gaining money and professional success. You can easily get that, and you are destined to get it one way or another. But you may find yourself reaching the top in your career or earning a lot, and not knowing what to do with that money because nobody likes you, nobody is around you. Everybody felt manipulated or strong-armed in this connection with you. Like you always had them in a head clinch, you know, like you never allowed them room to breathe or to be themselves. You never accepted them or tolerated them. So open up and love, open up and feel, spend time talking to people. Relationships are as important as the time that you think you're spending on money. Because I feel like you're really falling into this capitalistic saying that time is money and, you know, I need to make a lot of things, I need to be productive. In this lifetime, you have to walk away from that productivity demon and really walk into the emotional attachment light. Yeah, you are meant to build relationships that last. And we have your Saturn return age. Yeah, so around your first Saturn return, which takes place around the age of 28 and a half, 30 years of age, and then around your second Saturn return around the ages of 65 and a half, 67, depending where you have Saturn placed in your chart, you are going to experience this big tension between the money you are making and the role that work occupies in your life and the relationships you are having with the people around you. Okay, you may have received a sum of money as an inheritance from this powerful paternal energy, as I mentioned before, a grandfather or a father or an uncle, even a brother or somebody around you that has this very strong authoritarian presence. And then you are meant to manage this money somehow. Give it towards people that really light you up. Don't use your mind so much when you spend money, but use more your feelings. I know this may sound weird or risky from your point of view, but this is exactly the energy that you need to practice more in this lifetime. Giving from the heart and not from strictly the wallet and the mind. Not because you think, well, this person proved themselves to me. Look, they are bringing results, so I'm going to give them money. No, you see a person that is suffering, give them money to make their situation a little bit better. You know, donate to a charity. Help people just because it feels good without expecting anything in return. This is the karma that you need to overcome. Yeah. You may have karma related to emotions. You may have Saturn in Pisces, Saturn in Scorpio, Saturn in Cancer. You really need to put effort into developing your empathy. Your empathy is much more important than the money you make, than the bank account, you know, replenishing itself, because that will happen naturally. The more you care for other people, the more they will want to give to you. Okay? Money will come to you through unseen ways from different sources. But what you need to do is to take these risks and invest in things that may not look profitable, but are emotionally enriching. They are emotionally valuable. Okay? And you need to also find a way to relate to your body and to your center of sensitivity, sexuality, and pleasure, because there is some stuck energy over there. You could, for example, get married of interest because it makes sense. You want safety, a person can give you material abundance, you get married because of that, and you will be signing up for a lifetime of unhappiness. When in reality, what you need to do is marry for love. And then allow the flow of life to take you in the direction of abundance together with your loved one. Because you'll find that there is no greater abundance than being in love and loving people. Okay? Together with other people, you have more than apart from them. Wow, I feel like this reading went through my entire body, through my spine. I'm so happy that I was able to complete it for you guys. It's quite different, so let me know down in the comments what you think about this topic, if you enjoyed it, if you found it interesting. Goodbye, my Castellanos, and I cannot wait to see you in my next one.